Mhm.
I'm so excited. Jess, I missed you.
It's been a while. I missed you
I
too.
know. And then we had to cancel our last one because of the Central Eastern time difference that me and
Right.
Julie like to play sometimes. That
Yes.
happens. Oh my gosh. So you're 27 weeks this week. Tell us, since we last talked to you, what's going on. So you were having a few bumps in the road last time we talked. How are things been since then?
Um, well, I don't know if I told you about the diabetes. Did I tell you? We're
I think
just
that's when it was starting at that time. So now
okay.
full, this is what it is. You have you, ugh, that sucks.
Yeah. But I'm not insulin dependent as of now. So it's
Okay.
just checking the blood sugar
Okay.
and diet controlled. So it's
Okay.
not too bad, but of course with the holidays and you know, birthdays and baby showers and Halloween, it's a little hard, but I'm trying.
Now you were going to have a little sprinkle, right?
Yes, and
Did
we
you?
did.
Oh my
Yes.
goodness. How was that? Who threw it for you? Did you do it yourself? Give us all the fun details of our fun.
Yes, so I actually threw it myself and it was small due to the virus and everything. We just probably had like 10 guests, but then we also had a Zoom option as well. So about like maybe six more people, you know, zoomed in. And I just did kind of an old fashioned one. I just did girls, and my other two previous ones have been like co-eds, families, kind of like a big party, you know, where this was more of like a sit down ladies' lunch.
Okay.
And I made like half of the food, and I got like a catering company to come and serve us. So it was felt like we were at a restaurant, but it was home cooked food, and it was in my house.
Right.
And I set everything. It was like a fall themed shower, so fall themed food, and it was really really beautiful.
I could imagine. I could imagine. So did people buy you presents or did you get gift cards? Since you have older children and you have previous gear, what did you register?
I did, yeah, because I don't have any girls. So,
Right.
and my other son, my younger son, is still in his car seat, you know, so we still needed and in his high chair. So we still needed two more high chairs. We needed two more car seats. Um, we needed two bouncers. I didn't even have a bouncer for my last baby. So we actually really needed a lot of stuff and all girl clothes. We needed quite a bit.
Oh, and did your family come through? Is there still
They
anything
did.
left to buy?
Just a couple things that aren't really necessarily necessity things, you know, like, but maybe just some things that I would want. So I don't know. I read in the book, you know, about having like a jumper, you know, or like one of those bouncer things. Like I need to get one of those, and like just some clothes, things like that.
Aw.
Maybe some more bottles, but nothing like too major.
Yeah. Okay. So now from your previous raising of the babies, what are some of the necessities that you know you need to have in the house on day one versus like, well, we bought this, for your youngest son and we never used it.
Well, neither of my other two sons used a swing. And of course, we get the high tech, coolest swing there is, assuming they're going to love it. And then neither of my kids used it.
Mm,
Um, so I just skipped the swing altogether this time because they take up a lot of room.
yeah,
they're
they really do.
they're
They
not going
really,
to use
really
it. You know, I find that my babies just really just want to be held. They just want to be on me. So I find that I tend to overgear and then I don't really need as much stuff, you know, as I thought that I would. And my babies tend to just be more like just simple in that sense. They just want to be held and swaddled and fed and cuddled. And I don't really end up needing too much gear, but you never know. You know, every baby's so different.
yeah.
So another thing too is with my last ones, I had like two or three different types of carriers, you know, which are good when they're really little, but I'm also a very little person.
Mhm.
So it ends up really hurting my back by the time they're like 4 months. I can't do it anymore. So I didn't go for like the twin one. I
Okay.
just know that I won't
Yeah.
be able to like physically
Yes.
do that. So what I'm really just trying to do is just set up little areas in my house where I can put them where like my toddler's not gonna mess with them.
Mm.
So that's where I'm at right now. Like, okay, when I'm downstairs, like, where are they going to be? And when I'm upstairs, where are they going to be? So my other baby isn't tugging at them or
Yeah.
accidentally tripping on them or something like that.
What are your sleeping arrangements for when they come home?
So they'll be with me for a while until they're ready. Because we do have a triple nursery set up, but I
Okay.
need my toddler to sleep most importantly.
Yeah.
So really what we have right now is I have just like a mini crib from my last baby, and I was gonna put some sort of a barrier in it. I haven't quite figured that out yet.
You don't need to. It's not necessary. You know that in the beginning they're such potatoes. They're literally they don't go anywhere. So yeah,
Right.
co-cribbing is fine. I know that the American Academy of Pediatrics isn't necessarily a fan, but to be honest with you, we're one of the only countries that doesn't recommend it.
Oh,
So,
really?
depending
Yeah.
on where you're watching this video, there's places, there's countries that when your twins go home from the hospital, they actually hand you a pamphlet about how they should be sleeping in the same
Hmm.
crib together, which is usually head to head. So if their feet are kind of down here and their heads are up there, there's
Hmm.
no rolling potential of them ever. So
Okay.
yeah. So see, I mean, I don't know. I think in a mini crib, depending, especially because you're small, you may have, shorter babies, not necessarily tinier babies. So they could be still chubby. And especially since you have the gestational diabetes, they probably
Hmm.
will be a little bit on the chubbier side, just kind of historically, that's what happens with that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you don't have to stress too much and run out and get a second mini crib. And, worst comes to worst, you could always buy kind of an inexpensive bassinet to keep in your room
Right.
and the mini crib. So there's plenty of things that you could get the same day because there's still a lot of baby stores that are open. They just might do
Right.
curbside or something like that, depending on what state you're in right now. So
Yeah.
yeah, not you, but like the person watching, most states are still open for retail shopping, even curbside. So yeah,
Hmm.
you don't have to make any decisions. That's that. And then there's
Yeah.
a carrier too that I don't know if you've ever seen it, but we talk about it a lot at Twiniversity. It's by a company called Saplicor, and
Okay.
it's actually made for neonates. So it's made for the tinier baby
Hmm.
because most carriers can't be used until about 8 pounds. Some wraps are
Right.
different, but if you know that you have babies that like to be held, it may be something you want to look into because then you could wear one and hold one. Because
Okay.
basically and the carrier was actually made initially to be worn in the OR during a C-section so that if you have, medical contraptions hooked up to you, you could still get that skin to skin contact. And then they found out
Huh.
that it's actually the only FDA approved wrap, period, the end. Because it's also used to transport neonates in an ambulance because you can't put teeny tiny babies in an ambulance without being
Right.
somehow restrained. So this is kind of for that. So yeah, I definitely think that it's worth the bucks if you know already from your previous babies that your babies really like to be held, especially since you're so tiny. It's
Hmm.
you don't have the same body space as I do. I have more square footage on my body to hold two babies. So yeah, that's something that you may want to look into because you got to buy that in the mail. I don't think that it's in stores yet. But
What
yeah,
was it called?
the company is called Saplicor, and it's
Hmm.
it's it's called Aegis, AGIS. Yeah,
Okay.
so I think it's an A. And on our Twiniversity multiple birth discounts, there's a code there too for a discount off the second one if you opt to buy a second one. Many people
Okay.
get one, but it's really, it's up to you depending on, the experience that you want to have. So there's a lot of our families that buy one for you and then one in the size of your husband so that
I
he can
see.
have that skin to skin too. So yeah,
Okay.
play it
Yeah,
by
that's
ear.
a good tip.
But you brought up a really good point that you don't need a lot of stuff. So many
Hmm.
people want a lot of stuff and they don't realize that it's a want, it's not a need. And as long as you have kind of the basics of a safe place for them to sleep and diapering essentials, you're pretty much good to go if you're going to try to breastfeed. I would always have bottles and formula in the house. That's
Yeah.
just like a no-brainer to us. And I'm sure if you have bottles left over, all you do is buy new nipples. Those bottles are totally fine. So,
Yes,
but you probably need more because of the double
definitely.
situation. How have you been sleeping? Like with your bump, and since you're
Mm.
so much more petite than, like how have you been sleeping? Like, can you roll over? Do your legs fall asleep? Do your hands fall asleep? How's the whole sleeping situation been?
I'm definitely not sleeping very well at all, but I did get one of those like pregnancy pillows that I've been using. But every time that I need to turn over, I mean, I'm fully awake. It
Ugh,
takes that much energy and effort. And what I tell people, I mean, I feel like it's the same as like doing a push up, like the same type of effort, or doing like a plank and having absolutely no abs to help you
yeah.
make that transition. And, definitely just getting up and having to pee in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
So it's not, I'm not soundly sleeping to say the least, but the pillow helps.
Okay. But you're still
I'm,
in
s-
bed.
I'm still in bed. Yeah.
Okay. So that's good. A lot of people, I would say probably around week 30, start moving to a recliner if they have one in their house, and
Right.
just where
Which we
they
don't.
set up shop. Uh,
Uh-huh.
well,
Yeah.
I want you to get one now because it's so comfortable and you kind of sink in. I love when people, we don't have actually, to be honest, too, we don't have a giant recliner. But after speaking to people, often when I do like even breastfeeding consults and stuff, they're in that chair. And then I get chair envy and I want to be eaten by a chair too, like the giant floofy ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, never fitting in our apartment, but such is life, such is life. But I also love that you said that you have stations upstairs and downstairs for the babies. Do you know, like, is it looking like it's still looking like it may be a vaginal delivery? Are they moving a lot? Do you like, what do you think your delivery experience is going to be like?
Well, baby A is head down and baby B is feet down.
Okay.
And I've spoken to almost every provider in our practice, and it doesn't look like any of them are comfortable with a vaginal delivery in that with that situation. So it does look like at this point it's going to be a C-section, and the girls are large. They're each like in about 97
Wow.
percentile.
Okay.
So I don't on if you could see how big I am, I don't really see them moving.
Okay.
Like I don't think there's any room in here. So I'm kind of just mentally preparing myself for that.
Okay. That's all right. Oh, that's you
Yeah.
have the light on. That's so fancy. Now you're nice. Why your eyes are so bright. Okay, so you have some big babies on the way. It's probably going to be a C-section. Have you given any thought to getting up and down the stairs?
No, I
Okay.
have
You gotta,
not.
you just gotta be prepared, to make sure that you take it slow. And obviously, you have other people are going to be with you, right? So you have
Hmm.
older children that'll be in the house with you. Are they doing virtual school or what's happening?
We have one in virtual school and one in brick and mortar school.
Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's funny, right? When we're like regular school, what does that even mean anymore?
I know. That's why I hesitated on the word
Yeah, I
regular.
don't even know. It's like here we're doing, what they call it hybrid. So it's either you will get to do a hybrid of virtual and in person because our buildings are often so small that they can't accommodate the whole class at the same time. So up here they've
Hmm.
been splitting like A and B days and stuff. So yeah, this is just what it is. So the good news is the child that you have for virtual could run if there's running needed. So you'd be like, oh my
Hmm.
God, we ran out of diapers downstairs or whatever. Because I
Right.
really don't want you running around.
Are we allowed to go up and down the stairs? I don't even know.
I mean, there's plenty of people that do. You just got to
Uh-huh.
take it slow. So, and you have
Okay.
to really be cautious because, if you had a broken leg, let's say, you would still go upstairs to get to your bedroom, but how quick are you getting up there and how quick are you getting down? And the biggest danger with this versus a broken leg is going to physically prevent you. And you'll be, painkillers are like a real thing. They could really help you out. But if you move too fast, you could end up ripping some of
Hmm.
the inside stitches or outside stitches, and then We've had plenty of families that got infections in their C-section scar because it is major abdominal surgery. They're
Right.
literally cutting halfway into you. And as horrible as that is to think about, you have to take it seriously enough to say, okay, well, maybe I should spend, some nights downstairs if that's a possibility and
Hmm.
not rush upstairs. And another thing that you need to think about is driving. Driving is going to be a little bit more difficult because now with your bump, you realize how difficult sometimes it is to move your legs on the brake and
Yeah.
the gas. And those muscles, they are your ab muscles that are moving,
Mm.
depending on how you move your leg and you lift up your leg, you have to be cautious of that too. And then, of course, God forbid you really got into an accident and that hit your scar, we're in big trouble. So the doctor will tell you all of this. It's just really, it's preferred that you're not driving and going up and downstairs and reaching too, like nothing on a
Hmm.
high shelf. So for you, if you have stuff that you really have to reach for, if that's for the babies, maybe just move it down a shelf and move the other stuff, up to the top shelf.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
you got to start and now is the time to think about that while you're still fairly mobile, right? Because
Right.
the 27 weeks, by the time you're 30, now you're even bigger and you're going to be more stretched out. And if it's already feels like a plank just rolling over in bed, it's going to be exhausting.
Yeah.
Plus, you have to remember too, since you're more petite, they're going to press on your lungs more, which is going to make you
Hmm.
more out of breath. They're going to press on your stomach
Yeah.
more because your organs are more kind of condensed than somebody that's, 5'10". So
Right.
you got to really say like, okay, what am I going to do this week? What am I going to do next week? And start planning out how you're going to get things done. But
Hmm.
you'll get them done. It'll happen. But people think about it when it's too late. When they get home from
Right.
the hospital and they're like, I can't reach the bottle soap or the bottle washer or, the level 2 nipples or whatever it is. You don't want to have to ask for help for anything. And you're a very independent chick, just in general. I think we're a little all type A in Twiniversity, I feel in general.
Hmm.
So yeah, we're not prone to start asking for help, but
Right.
if you don't want to ask for help, you have to set it up for yourself so that you don't.
Okay. Makes sense. Yep. I gotta
But
think about that stuff.
the upstairs downstairs is a tough one, and making sure that you have adequate supplies downstairs. So when you go down for the day, you kind of stay down for the day.
Okay. Hmm.
That would
Makes
be,
sense.
yeah. And then of course you still want to sleep in your bed, but even, the first few nights post C-section are really not the most comfortable. That pregnancy pillow still comes into play, and it
Yeah.
takes a while for your uterus to get down to its regular size, which is the size of your fist. So it's this giant water balloon now. It takes a hot minute. So,
Right.
from your previous pregnancies, you're lucky enough to know kind of what that recovery process was like. So it's probably going to be fairly the same. I think people think that twin pregnancy recoveries are often more difficult, but pregnancies are pregnancies. And, since you're a little bit more stretched out in the uterus region, which is nice,
Yeah.
maybe it'll even be a little bit more comfortable because your body knows exactly what it's doing on the healing
Hmm.
front. How were your healings from your previous deliveries? Did you have a quick recovery? Were you back on your feet in the car, running around? Like, how quick were you back on your feet after your previous 2 pregnancies?
Well, I don't know if I was ever necessarily like off my feet, but it does take me, I feel like, longer than most people to recover fully. Um, Really, I don't think anybody that I've ever spoken to has taken quite as long as I have to really feel 100%.
Okay.
And so even with my last, pregnancy, I mean, I got pregnant like 8 months later. I don't feel like I was like myself
Yeah.
even 8 months later. I really don't. I think it takes me like a full year, not only physically, but just emotionally to like be me
Yeah.
again. So it takes me a while.
Did you have any postpartum depression or postpartum anxiety after your previous deliveries?
I definitely did with my first. I definitely did. With Ethan, I think it was more just normal, like normal hormones. Like, sometimes I would just cry for no reason. But didn't necessarily feel depressed. I just feel like
Mhm.
my emotions were just crazy.
Yeah. but that leveled out eventually.
Yeah.
And plus you had another baby that was running around, so there was no time to sit down and, eat a bucket of ice cream and or whatever. So,
Right.
so the thing is, before you get discharged, I would really contact the social worker at the hospital and make sure you have their information. And then, of course, your OB is really going to be important for postpartum stuff. But with twin pregnancies, in general, we do find that there is a higher incidence of postpartum
Hmm.
depression. So if you've had previous pregnancies and you know that you may be a little bit more susceptible to going down that road, you may want to get ahead of it too. And there's often, with your past two pregnancies, I don't know if you're carrying trauma from it, but it's funny that people don't realize that these things come to a head when you
Yeah.
have the babies, and then your body is trying to regulate and your emotions are trying to regulate, and everything is just haywire. And there's not much that you could really do about it. Like, you could
Right.
still meditate and you could still, try all the holistic stuff, but sometimes you do need professional help. So if there's
Yeah.
a number that you could try to find before delivery, and then like have, like, in case of emergency, break glass situation,
Right.
that, and another thing that we have is we have a peer-to-peer more mentorship program that I don't know if you signed up for, but a lot of
No.
people find it beneficial just to speak to somebody else that has twins.
Right.
Just be like, dude, this is too much. Why are there so many babies? Why are they crying so much? I just hunted
Right.
one. What
Right.
happened? How did we get here? So we do have that too at Twiniversity, which is always good, but always having a number of somebody, like either a social worker or a psychiatrist or somebody who specializes in postpartum mood disorders is the way to
Okay.
go. And there's also a lot of insurance companies. Sometimes they'll have like programs for expecting moms that you may not even know exists with your insurance company, because they don't necessarily tell us that exists. But there's a lot of insurance companies that offer hotlines for people that are experiencing postpartum depression. So just
Hmm.
have that ready. Odds are, I always think positive. You'll never need to call any number, but it's always
Yeah.
good that in case you did, you know who to call.
Yeah, and interesting that you bring up trauma, because I definitely feel like with my first pregnancy, there was a lot of trauma, not only physical, but just emotional. It was a hard time. And then I definitely carried that, I think, into my last pregnancy, just being anxious and afraid, but then I ended up having a really great birthing experience and postpartum experience. So, and I'm coming off of that one. So,
Good.
yeah.
They'll probably be equally as wonderful. There's no reason to go into the negative zone, to be honest with you, 'cause
Hmm.
it doesn't help anybody.
Right.
But sometimes I feel that if you're too close-minded and thinking that it may be something that could happen, then you're just setting yourself up for more issues. And
Right.
I never want anybody to even, I mean, I had very bad postpartum, which is why I talk about it all the time. I'm very
Yeah.
out and about, because I didn't know that that was more normal in the twin community than not.
Right.
So,
And I read that in your book.
well, a lot of people, I
Hmm.
think, associate postpartum depression with failure. And so
Hmm.
a lot of people think that they're doing a crappy job as a new mom, when in
Yeah.
reality, they're doing wonderfully. It's just this weird depression that's kind of clouding up their own judgment and seeing what's in front of them and how great they're actually doing. But
Yeah. And that's another thing too, is I think that there's been kind of a lot of negativity like around, and people just saying, how are you going to do this? Like, how are you going to manage this? And that's like the last thing in the world that I need to hear.
yeah,
I need to, and I keep telling everybody that God wouldn't give me what I can't handle. And this is a double blessing. This isn't, so I feel like I'm hearing that a lot. And so me and my husband have both had to like be really firm with people. Like, if that's how you feel, just keep that to yourself, because it doesn't help me. It doesn't do anything but just make me doubt and question myself, which is the last thing in the world that any new mom needs, or not new mom, but expecting
yeah,
mom
totally.
needs to hear.
It's so ridiculous, but we actually have articles on this, because, like, how stupid are people? Like, and I'm using that word exactly the way that it's supposed to be used. But like, how it's so obscene. You would never go up to somebody that's started a new job and said, "How are you going to do that?" That
Right.
sounds so difficult. Like, but
Right.
I with twins, I think that people lose their filter. So they just say what's on their mind. And what they're probably trying to say is, I'm worried about you. How
And
are you
that's what they
managing
say.
this?
Exactly.
But
But
you have
that's
to,
kind of like the backup, like,
yeah,
well, I'm just worried, you
yeah.
know? And again, and I have to say, I'm like, if you can't help,
Hmm.
then just keep those
Yes.
those to yourself
Yes.
because they're not helping me at all.
Yeah.
I'm, worried enough as it is. I just need to be positive,
Yeah.
and believe in myself. I don't need other people doubting me.
Yes. Well, and honestly, I really know you're going to be fine. And everybody on our side of the twin world knows you're going to be fine. You're just
Hmm.
a regular mom in our universe.
Right,
To the
exactly.
skeleton world, it's overwhelming and scary. And how are you going to do this? I know you're going to be fine. I mean, we have, single moms that have military spouses that are deployed doing this 100% solo on a base in another
Hmm.
country by themselves. Like I
Right,
always think about, you will be able to handle it. But when
right.
people do start getting negative, like, and this is that you should just employ it. I mean, anybody who's watching should just employ on a regular daily basis. When people say something that you think is ridiculous, just reply with, what I think you're trying to say is this. Because it
Hmm.
happens with my kids too. When my kids are like, we're having chicken again. And I'm like, what I think you're trying to say is, how lucky am I to have
Right.
for me every night? Because that's what I'm hearing.
Right, I do that with my elder son. I'm like, "Oh, you're very welcome for dinner."
Yeah.
Like.
Yes. But you could employ that with, adults too, because adults, they say things. Even my mom will say things to me, and I'll be like, what I think you're trying to say is, you're doing a great job as a mother, and it is difficult with
Right.
teenagers. So that's what I'm hearing. I don't know what you're
Right.
trying to say, but I remember when I was expecting, and I would get all the ridiculous, stupid comments on, how am I going to do this living in a tiny apartment in New York City that's a walk up,
Right.
2 flights
Oh,
up.
wow.
How are you going to get
Mhm.
everybody up and down with no
Mhm.
elevator? You have no car. What are you going to do? And I would just be like, well, we're planning to give one away. And that's it. And they would be like,
Right.
really? And I'm like, no, why would I give one away? And then that would be it. We're
Uh-huh.
leaving one at the fire department. There's safe spaces around the community where you could leave a child that's unwanted.
Uh-huh.
So that's where we haven't decided which one yet. But like, what a
Right.
ridiculous thing to say. How am I
Right,
going
and
to
then
do
it's
it? What am
like,
I going to do?
well, you're done now, right? Like, you're done having kids, right? And you're getting your tubes tied, right? Just like, it's not your business.
Thank you. Thank you for taking charge of my whole reproductive life status. I
Right. It's
appreciate that, because we didn't know what to do until you said something
right.
to me.
I'm so tired of people asking me that. And I keep saying, like, look, I can't make any commitments
Yeah.
to what I'm doing in a couple years.
Yeah.
I'm not committing it to you for sure.
Just say, well, we're hoping for 7 or 8, and then we'll figure out where we're going to go for there. So yeah, I'm hoping to
Right.
get pregnant instantly after this delivery.
Right.
That's our goal. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. This is when the fun time starts, because you were already showing last time. And so
Oh
now
God.
I can imagine that you are not the tiniest. Could we see how big you are?
Yeah, I mean, I literally look like I'm about to give
We
birth,
love it.
but
We
I
love
don't know
it. Let
how
me put
it'll look
the
on
slideshow in.
camera, but
You are perfect. You're not beluga yet. So you haven't gotten kind of the dip in. Oh, I can't wait for that to happen. That'll happen in our next call. You get like this, it looks like a whale, like it'll be smaller and then it might
huh.
pop out. I get excited on our petite moms. You have a different shaped belly than taller moms. So it's funsies.
Yeah, my husband keeps saying, you were never this size, like this shape before." Like,
It's interesting of the way that they develop, and their amniotic sac has to stay kind of intact in the same way. And so since they can't grow up, they grow out. And sometimes they grow out so much that you start getting like if I'm looking at your belly, you start to get a little dip in towards your ribs, because they'll grow
hmm,
out over here. So
okay.
it'll grow like that weirdly. Maybe. I
Yeah.
don't know,
No,
but it's
I do
you're
feel like when I look straight, I'm wider than I ever was carrying because they're like on each side.
gonna
It's a very interesting to see myself like that.
Well, you will never hear negativity from me. I know how you're going to do it. You're going to do it just the way I did it, and
Thank
millions of
you.
people are doing it. And you have the backing of millions of parents through Twiniversity that are all cheering for you and are all rooting for you, and know it's going to be fine. We're not worried about it. What we're worried about is making sure that you heal correctly, that you're whole mentally. Like that's our
Right.
concern. I'm not worried about
Right.
how you're going to do it. I think people forget in general that once the babies are here, you still need to kind of be your priority, because if you don't take care of yourself, the whole family is going to go to crap.
Right.
So yeah, for that, you definitely have to think about that and make sure that you are okay. And I always use that airline analysis that when you get on a plane, they say, you know, make
Right.
sure you secure your oxygen masks before assisting others. I wonder how that's going to go now. Like, would you wear it over your mask, under your mask?
Right.
Things that I haven't thought about on airplanes.
Right.
But you have to make sure you're good. So having as much lined up as possible to set it up best so that you could feel good about not asking a million people for a million things, but still being able to, especially with the older kids, because those are your kids. They have to do
Right.
things. That's
Right.
just, it's too bad. They're part of this family. Nobody,
Exactly.
they didn't ask for twins. They're going to tell you that, by the way. So get ready for
I
that.
know.
We didn't want more kids. Good for you. That's what I have to say. That's nice. You're
Right.
welcome. That you're going to have better. What I hear is, thank you for giving me better Christmases when I am old and I have a big family that's going to love me and take care of me. Because that's
That's
what I'm
right.
hearing. See?
Right.
That's all it is. All right, Jess, we will talk to you in a few weeks. If there's
Okay.
anything that you need before then, you make sure that you give us a call. But for those of you that are watching, you could follow Jess too. So we have a previous video with her when she was a lot less further along. And hopefully it won't be this long until the next time that we see her, because now things really start to get fun. Yay! I can't wait. I can't wait till you're like 38 weeks pregnant and you need a table holding you up in front of you, wheeling it
Oh
through the
my
house.
gosh.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready for anything. I'll stand behind you and hold you up by the belly. So yeah, you'll be fine. You got this. You totally got this. All right. So those
Thank
of you that are
you.
watching, go watch Jess's other story. And until next time, guys, we'll see you later, alligators.